She told me over the phone, with loud music blaring in the background, "We have an open relationship now. I'm in Vegas, and I'm going to have fun. Just don't give me your opinion." She thought she held all the cards. She thought I was just the quiet, supportive husband back home in Seattle who paid the bills. She forgot one thing. I work in cybersecurity. And while she was busy ordering champagne on my dime, I was busy pressing delete on her entire life. It took her 3 years to build her ego, but it only took me 2 hours to dismantle it completely. Welcome back to Inspiration Seeker. If you love stories about instant karma and justice served cold, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. You do not want to miss how this unfolds. Comment, Team Jason down below if you're ready for the ride. Let's get into it. To the outside world, Tiffany and I were the definition of the American dream. We lived in a sprawling modern home in the quiet, leafy suburbs of Seattle. The kind of neighborhood where everyone waves, but nobody really knows what happens behind closed doors. I've spent the last decade building a reputation as a high-level cybersecurity consultant. My job is all about finding vulnerabilities in complex systems and fixing them before they can be exploited. It pays well, very well, and it requires a certain level of paranoia that I usually leave at the office. Tiffany, on the other hand, was a rising star in luxury real estate. She was charismatic, beautiful, and driven. Or at least, that's what I told myself. Looking back, I think I was willfully blind. We had been married for 5 years, and for the most part, things seemed fine. Not spectacular, not passionate, just stable. I financed her lifestyle because I wanted her to be happy. The leased Tesla Model X, the designer wardrobe, the endless networking dinners, I covered it all without a second thought. I figured that was just part of the deal. I was the provider, she was the face of our social life. Then came the Las Vegas conference. It was supposed to be a standard week-long real estate summit at the Bellagio. A huge opportunity for her to network with high-net-worth clients. But as the departure date got closer, the atmosphere in our house shifted. Tiffany started acting different. She went on a shopping spree that was aggressive even for her standards, buying dresses that were less business casual and more nightclub scandal. The morning she left, the air was thick with tension. She was jittery, constantly checking her phone, shielding the screen whenever I walked by. When I loaded her luggage into the car, she didn't even look me in the eye. "I'm going to be so busy, Jason," she said, her voice tight. "Don't expect me to call much. The schedule is packed." I nodded, kissing her on the cheek. "Just be safe. Have a great trip." As she drove away, a notification popped up on my phone. "Tiffany has stopped sharing location with you." I stared at the screen. Her excuse later via text was flimsy, "Saving battery, honey." Don't worry. But deep in my gut, that old cybersecurity instinct flared up. It was the same feeling I got when I detected unauthorized code in a server. A vulnerability had been exposed. I just didn't know yet how bad the breach really was. The first 24 hours were a masterclass in gaslighting. Usually, when Tiffany travels, she's a chronic oversharer. I'd get a FaceTime tour of the hotel suite, photos of the view from the balcony, and a play-by-play of her itinerary. But this time, radio silence. After she landed at Harry Reid International, I got a single, dry text, "Landed. Super busy. Talk later." That was it. No "I love you," no emoji, nothing. I sat in our living room, the silence of the house pressing in on me, staring at that text. I tried to tell myself I was being paranoid. Maybe the conference was just intense. Maybe her battery really was dead. But my gut, that instinct that had saved corporate networks from Russian hackers, was screaming that something was wrong. And then, the notifications started rolling in. You see, Tiffany often forgot that while she carried the relentless, black card, my American Express Platinum, I was the primary account holder. Every swipe, every tap, every transaction triggered an instant alert on my Apple Watch. It was like watching a crime scene unfold in real time via financial data. Tuesday night, 8 p.m., Nobu at Caesar's Palace, $640. I frowned. That's a steep bill for one person, even for Vegas prices. I checked the details later. It wasn't a group dinner with clients. It was clearly a meal for two. Oysters, premium sake, Wagyu beef. Wednesday lunch, Hell's Kitchen, $280. Again, a table for two. By Wednesday night, the pattern was undeniable. She wasn't networking with a group of realtors, she was on a continuous, high-end date. I tried calling her around 10 p.m. It went straight to voicemail. 5 minutes later, she texted back, "In a meeting. Can't talk." A meeting? At 10 p.m. in Las Vegas? I looked at the latest notification that had just popped up seconds before her text. Hakkasan nightclub, VIP table service, $1,200. I put my phone down on the kitchen counter, feeling a cold numbness spread through my chest. She wasn't in a meeting. She was partying. And she was doing it on my dime, lying to my face via text while I sat at home walking the dog and managing the household. I didn't explode. I didn't spam her phone with angry messages. I just waited. I needed confirmation. I needed her to say it out loud. And little did I know, she was about to call me and hand me the smoking gun herself. It was Thursday night, around 11:30 p.m. Seattle time, when my phone finally lit up with her name. I was sitting in my home office, the glow of 3 monitors the only light in the room. I wasn't working, I was staring at a blank screen, waiting. I swiped to answer, putting it on speaker. Jason. Her voice was loud, distorted. The background noise was a chaotic mix of heavy bass thumping, electronic dance music, and the high-pitched clink-clang of slot machines. She was clearly not in her room, and she definitely wasn't sober. "I'm here, Tiffany," I said, keeping my voice steady, neutral. "Is everything okay? I haven't heard from you in—" "Oh, stop it," she cut me off, slurping something that sounded like a cocktail. "Don't do that nagging husband thing. I'm having the time of my life, Jason. Vegas it's just electric." I heard a man's voice in the background, close to the receiver. A low, mocking laugh. "Tell him, Tiff. Just tell him," the voice urged. My stomach dropped. I knew that voice. It was deep, smooth, and arrogant. It sounded like Brad, her regional manager. The guy who always clapped me on the back a little too hard at the Christmas parties. "Listen to me," Tiffany said, her tone shifting. It wasn't affectionate anymore. It was cold, almost cruel. Being here, away from that boring suburban life, it made me realize something. I'm too young to be tied down, Jason. I'm too vibrant for your little quiet life. I gripped the edge of my desk until my knuckles turned white. "What are you saying, Tiffany?" "I'm saying we're changing the rules," she announced, as casually as if she were ordering a salad. "We have an open relationship now. Effective immediately. I'm going to have fun tonight. I deserve this." The man in the background laughed again, and I heard the distinct sound of a kiss, wet and sloppy against the microphone. "And Jason," she added, her voice dripping with condescension. "Don't be pathetic. Just, don't give me your opinion. I don't want to hear your lectures or your feelings. I'm doing this whether you like it or not. So, deal with it." The disrespect was physical. It felt like a slap across the face. She wasn't asking, she was dictating. She was humiliating me while spending my money, with her boss laughing in her ear. In that moment, the last shred of love I had for her evaporated, instantly replaced by a icy, calm clarity. She wanted freedom. Fine. But she forgot that freedom isn't free. For a heartbeat, the only sound in the room was the low hum of my computer cooling fans. A normal man would have screamed. A normal husband would have begged, cried, or threatened divorce right then and there. My heart did shatter, I won't lie about that. It felt like someone had reached into my chest and squeezed the life out of it. But then, almost instantly, a switch flipped in my brain. It was a survival mechanism. In my line of work, when a system is compromised, you don't panic. You don't get emotional about the virus destroying your data. You isolate the threat. You assess the damage. You execute the counter protocol. Her words echoed in my head. Don't give me your opinion. She didn't want a husband. She wanted a silent financier. She wanted the safety of my bank account while she auditioned for a new life with Brad. She wanted to have her cake and eat it too, and she expected me to just sit there and hold the plate. I took a slow, deep breath, stabilizing my voice. I looked at the waveform of her voice on my screen, a jagged, ugly line. Okay, I said. The word hung in the air, simple and devastatingly calm. There was a pause on the other end. Tiffany was clearly expecting a fight. She wanted the drama. She wanted me to be the jealous, controlling villain so she could justify her betrayal. My compliance threw her off script. Wait, really? She stammered, the arrogance slipping for a millisecond before rushing back in full force. Wow. I knew you were passive, Jason, but I didn't think you were that easy. She let out a cruel, triumphant giggle. Good boy. I'll see you when I get back. Don't wait up. Click. She hung up. The line went dead. I stared at the phone in my hand, my expression set in stone. Good boy, I whispered to the empty room. That was the mistake. She thought she was talking to Jason, her pushover husband. She didn't realize that man had just ceased to exist. In his place sat the senior security analyst, and I had just been given full authorization to neutralize a threat. I set the phone down on the desk with a deliberate, soft click. I didn't throw it. I didn't sweep the monitors off the desk in a rage. I simply adjusted my glasses and pulled my keyboard closer. It was time to work. If she wanted an open relationship, I reasoned, then we were no longer a single unit. We were two independent entities. And in the corporate world, or the world of common sense, independent entities don't subsidize each other's reckless spending. If she wanted to act single, she could finance being single. I logged into our primary banking portal. The dashboard loaded, displaying the numbers that defined our life. It was a stark visual representation of our marriage. My deposits, her withdrawals. I started digging into the details. The sheer scale of it was almost impressive. The Amex Platinum she was flashing around Vegas? Primary cardholder, Jason. The rental agreement for the luxury convertible she was driving? Lessee, Jason. The reservation at the Bellagio suite? Booked and guaranteed by Jason. She didn't own a thing. Even her cell phone plan was part of a family bundle I managed. I scrolled through the transactions from the last 3 days. It was nauseating. Spa treatments, $450. VIP pool access, $200. Jewelry store, $1,500. She was burning through my hard-earned money to impress a man who probably didn't even bring his wallet. Malicious compliance, I muttered to myself. It's a term we use when we follow a rule so literally that it causes the system to fail. She set the rule, we are open, and my opinion doesn't matter. Fine. My opinion is that I shouldn't pay for my wife to cheat on me. But since I can't give my opinion, I'll just remove the means for it to happen. I opened a new spreadsheet. I called it Operation Independence. I wasn't just going to cut her off, I was going to surgically remove myself from her existence. I checked the time. It was just past midnight in Seattle. In Vegas, the night was just getting started. She had about an hour before the bill came due. I picked up the landline, a relic we kept for emergencies, and dialed the number on the back of my American Express card. The automated voice greeted me, cheerful and oblivious to the carnage I was about to unleash. I navigated the menu with the muscle memory of a man who has done this 1,000 times for clients, though never for himself. Reason for call. The agent asked after I verified my identity. I have reason to believe the supplementary card ending in 4005 is compromised, I said. My voice was calm, professional. It wasn't a lie, technically. The person using it had been compromised ethically and morally. I need to freeze it immediately. Actually, freeze all supplementary cards associated with my account. Just to be safe. Certainly, sir. That's done. The cards will be declined for any further transactions effective immediately. Thank you, I said. Oh, and one more thing. I need to report a potential issue with a hotel booking. I called the Bellagio next. This was trickier, but money talks. I explained that due to a security breach with my credit card, the payment authorization for the suite was no longer valid. I told them I was canceling the card on file and would not be providing a replacement. Sir, the guest is currently occupying the room, the concierge said, sounding confused. I understand, I replied. But I am the one paying for it. And I am withdrawing my payment. If the guest wishes to stay, she will need to provide her own method of payment immediately. Otherwise, I assume you'll have to lock her out. We will have to contact Ms. Tiffany. You do that, I said. Good luck. Finally, I logged into our joint checking account. This was the nuclear button. With a few clicks, I initiated a transfer of 95% of the available balance into my personal savings account, an account she didn't even know existed. I left exactly $14.50 in the joint account. Enough for a burger maybe, but certainly not enough for another round of shots. It took me less than 30 minutes. In the span of a sitcom episode, Tiffany went from a high-rolling VIP to a woman with $14 to her name in the most expensive city in America. I sat back, steepled my fingers, and watched the clock. The trap was set. Money was the oxygen, but data was the gravity holding her world together. And I was about to turn off the gravity. Tiffany lived her life on her iPhone. It was her external brain. Her contacts, her social media, her access to every app she used, it was all tied to an Apple ID that, you guessed it, I had set up for her years ago. Because tech is hard, and Jason handles that stuff. I logged into the family iCloud portal. Her device showed up as Tiffany's iPhone 14 Pro, Las Vegas, Nevada. Step 1. Change the password. I reset the main Apple ID password to a 24-character string of random gibberish that even a supercomputer would take centuries to crack. Step 2. The lost mode. I didn't brick the phone completely, that would be too merciful. Instead, I activated lost mode on her iPad which she had left in the hotel room. It would start emitting a piercing, unstoppable alarm sound until a passcode was entered. A passcode that I had just changed. Then, I turned my attention to the car. The Tesla app on my phone showed her Model X parked at the Seattle-Tacoma Airport garage. I could see the battery level, the tire pressure, everything. I tapped the Controls menu. I initiated a remote valet mode lock, limiting the speed to 45 miles per hour and locking the glovebox and frunk. Then, I revoked her phone key access. When she eventually dragged herself back to Seattle, her phone wouldn't unlock the door. She'd be stranded in a parking garage with a car that refused to acknowledge her existence. Finally, the house. Our smart home system controlled everything. The locks, the thermostat, the lights. I removed her user profile from the main hub. Her digital fingerprint was wiped from the front door lock. Even if she took a taxi home, she wouldn't be able to get inside. I was systematically erasing her access to the life she had taken for granted. She wanted to disconnect from her boring life? I was just helping her unplug. Completely. With the defenses secured, I turned my attention to the offense. I needed intel on the enemy. Tiffany had been sloppy, but Brad? Brad was reckless. I pulled up the detailed call logs from our carrier. It wasn't hard to find him. His number appeared dozens of times over the last month. Late-night calls, midday texts, FaceTime sessions that lasted hours while I was supposedly working late. I cross-referenced the number. Bradford J. Miller. Regional Sales Director. I found his LinkedIn first. The typical corporate profile, lots of buzzwords about synergy and leadership, A profile picture with a forced smile and overly white teeth. But LinkedIn is boring. I wanted the real dirt. I switched to Facebook. His profile was locked down fairly well, but his wife's wasn't. Her name was Sarah. Her profile picture was a wholesome shot of her and Brad on a hiking trail, smiling, with a golden retriever between them. Her timeline was a shrine to their happy marriage. Photos of their kids' soccer games, anniversary dinners, captions like, "So lucky to have this man by my side." It was gut-wrenching. I saw myself in Sarah. We were the oblivious spouses, the props in the background of Brad and Tiffany's ego trip. I dug deeper. I found a post from Sarah from just 2 days ago, missing the hubby. Working hard at the conference in Vegas. Can't wait for you to come home. Working hard. Right. I took screenshots. Everything. The time-stamped call logs showing Brad calling Tiffany at 2 a.m. The location data from Tiffany's phone, before she hid it, placing her in the same hotel wing as Brad. I compiled a digital dossier. I wasn't just going to ruin Tiffany's night. I was going to hand a loaded gun to Sarah. Because in this game, collateral damage wasn't an accident, it was a necessary strategy. Brad thought he could play around with another man's wife without consequences? He was about to learn that security breaches have a ripple effect. Exactly 2 hours after Tiffany's phone call, the first domino fell. And thanks to modern technology, I could almost visualize it happening. Picture the scene. Tiffany and Brad are at Carbone, one of the most exclusive Italian spots in Vegas. They've just finished a lavish meal, veal parmesan, truffles, maybe a bottle of Barolo. The waiter arrives with the leather folder. Tiffany, feeling empowered by her new open status and fueled by liquid courage, reaches for it. She wants to show Brad she's a modern woman, not dependent on anyone. She pulls out the Amex Platinum. The heavy metal card clinks on the table. Back in Seattle, my phone didn't buzz. No transaction alert. Just silence. I imagine the waiter returning a minute later, leaning in discreetly. "I'm sorry, ma'am. The card was declined." Tiffany probably laughed it off. "Oh, that's silly. Try it again." He tries. Declined. Panic starts to prickle at the back of her neck. She digs into her purse for the backup visa. Declined. The emergency MasterCard? Declined. By now, the waiter's polite smile is fading. People at nearby tables are glancing over. Brad, who was probably checking out the hostess a moment ago, suddenly looks uncomfortable. "Brad, honey," Tiffany would say, her voice tight. "There must be a glitch. Can you get this one?" And here is where the tragedy becomes a comedy. Brad is a regional manager, sure, but he's also a guy with a mortgage, 2 kids in private school, and a wife who watches their joint account like a hawk. He didn't budget $800 for a secret dinner. He expected the rich husband back in Seattle to foot the bill. I can almost hear his excuse. "Babe, I didn't bring my wallet. I left it in the safe." Or, "My card has a daily limit." The manager comes over. The humiliation is public now. They are escorted out, maybe threatened with police intervention if they don't cough up cash. They probably had to scrape together every crumpled bill from their pockets just to cover the food cost, leaving a 0 tip. They walk out onto the strip, not as high rollers, but as broke tourists. And when they get back to the Bellagio, the key card to the suite flashes red. Access denied. The reality of the situation hits Tiffany like a freight train. She grabs her phone to call the one person who always fixes everything. Me. My phone rang. 2:15 a.m. Seattle time. I let it ring 3 times. I wanted her to sweat. I wanted the sound of that ringing tone to be the soundtrack of her desperation. Finally, I picked up. "Hello." I sounded groggy, pretending I'd been asleep. "Jason." She was screaming. Not the confident, slurpy scream from before, but a frantic, high-pitched shriek. "What the hell is going on? My cards aren't working. The hotel locked me out. I'm standing in the lobby with security staring at me like I'm a criminal. I sat up in my chair, fully alert. Who is this? I asked calmly. It's me, Tiffany. Stop playing games. Why did you cancel the cards? Oh, I said, my voice flat. Well, Tiffany, I took your advice. You said we have an open relationship now. I thought about it, and you're right. Independence is important. What are you talking about? Fix this. Fix it right now. I have nowhere to sleep. That sounds like a you problem, I replied. See, in an open relationship, finances are separate. I don't pay for strangers to party in Vegas. And since you told me not to give you my opinion, I figured actions speak louder than words. I was drunk, she sobbed. The arrogance was completely gone, replaced by pure terror. I didn't mean it. It was just a joke, Jason. Please, Brad is useless. He can't pay for anything. I'm scared. Brad? I asked, feigning surprise. Ah, the guy laughing in the background? The one you were kissing. Well, since he's enjoying your company so much, surely he can put you up for the night. He left, she whimpered. He went back to his room. He said he couldn't get involved. Of course he did. Rats are the first to flee a sinking ship. Jason, please, she begged, her voice cracking. I love you. I'm sorry. Just turn the cards back on. I'll come home. We can talk. We are talking, I said. And I'm done listening. Wait, what are you doing? I'm sending a little message, I said. Check your Facebook. My Facebook? Why? Because I just introduced myself to Sarah, I said. You know, Brad's wife? I think you two have a lot in common now. There was a silence on the other end so profound, I thought the call had dropped. Then, a gasp. No. Jason, you didn't. Goodbye, Tiffany. I hung up. And then, I turned my phone off. I didn't just send a text saying, your husband is cheating. That's amateur hour. In my line of work, you don't make accusations, you present evidence. I had compiled a PDF dossier. It was a thing of beauty, really. It contained the time-stamped call logs showing the late-night conversations between Brad and Tiffany. It had the credit card receipts from the romantic dinners at Nobu and Hell's Kitchen, dinners that Brad clearly didn't pay for, but certainly enjoyed. And the cherry on top? A screenshot of the location data from Tiffany's iPad, placing her device inside Brad's hotel suite at 1 a.m. on Wednesday. I attached the file to a Facebook message addressed to Sarah Miller. My message was short and polite. Hi Sarah. I believe our spouses have been enjoying a very expensive vacation together in Las Vegas. I thought you deserved to know the truth. I've cut off my wife's funding. Good luck with Brad. Send. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling a breath I felt like I'd been holding for years. This was the checkmate. I couldn't see what was happening in Las Vegas, but I could imagine it vividly. I imagined Sarah's phone lighting up on her nightstand. Maybe she was asleep, and she'd see it in the morning. Or maybe, just maybe, she was awake, worrying about her husband who wasn't answering his phone. If Tiffany was hysterical before, she was about to become radioactive. Brad wasn't going to be her knight in shining armor. He was about to be fighting for his own survival. When Sarah saw that message, Brad's bank accounts, his house, his custody of his kids, everything was going to be on the line. He wouldn't have a second to spare for the weeping mistress in the lobby. He would drop Tiffany like a bad habit to try and save his own skin. I watched the status of the message change. Sent. Then, a moment later. Seen. Sarah was awake. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. It wasn't Tiffany this time. It was a blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again. And again. Brad was panic dialing me. He probably wanted to beg, to threaten, to make a deal. But there are no deals with terrorists, and in my eyes, he had terrorized my marriage. I powered down my computer. The house was silent. The war was over. I had fired the missiles, and they had hit their targets with surgical precision. Now, all that was left was to clean up the debris. The fallout was spectacular, though I wasn't there to see most of it. I heard the details later through the grapevine, and I admit, I savored every morsel. Tiffany spent 2 days stranded in Las Vegas. With no credit cards and no Brad, who had immediately ghosted her to try and salvage his own marriage, she had to make the humiliation call to her parents. They wired her enough cash for a ticket home, but not for a plane. She rode a Greyhound bus from Nevada to Washington. That's a 24-hour ride of pure reflection. When she finally dragged her suitcase up our driveway in Seattle, exhausted and disheveled, she found the front door locked. She punched in her code. The smart lock flashed red. She tried again. Red. She didn't need to knock. Taped to the front door was a large manila envelope. Inside wasn't a love letter or an apology. It was a petition for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences, and a restraining order preventing her from entering the property or contacting me. Next to the door sat 4 cardboard boxes. That was it. That was the sum total of her life with me. I wasn't inside. I had already moved out the day before, taking the dog and my personal effects. I put the house on the market immediately. In Seattle's market, it sold in a week. As for Brad, Sarah didn't miss. She took him to the cleaners. He lost his house, his custody arrangement, and eventually his job when rumors of his expense account misuse started floating around the office. Today, I'm writing this from the balcony of my new penthouse apartment in downtown Seattle. The view is incredible, rain or shine. It's quiet here. There's no drama, no pretending, and no one spending my money to impress strangers. Tiffany reached out a few months ago through a mutual friend, saying she missed our friendship. I didn't reply. I simply blocked the number. She wanted an open relationship. She wanted to be free. Well, she got exactly what she asked for. She's free to do whatever she wants, with whoever she wants. She just has to pay for it herself. Thanks for listening to my story. If you enjoyed watching a cheater get exactly what they deserved, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to Inspiration Seeker. We post stories like this every week. And let me know in the comments, did I go too far, or was it the perfect revenge? I think we all know the answer to that. See you in the next video.